Okay, so now let's check out the headlines for the AM News. A man was crushed to death by a crane in a gory accident, highlighting issues of work safety for construction workers. Also, government reacts to TUC saying a technical committee is assessing the likely impact of proposed tariff increases. Also in the bulletin, consumer price inflation is at 11.9%, the highest in 3 years. Now let's settle for the details of the stories. In our first story, though, the government said on Wednesday it was awaiting the preliminary report of the technical working group on the tariff increases before taking any measures on their impact. A press release signed by Mahama Ayariga, Minister of Information and Media Relations, was in reaction to an ultimatum to strike by the Trades Union Congress, TUC, who say the increment is simply not affordable for the average Ghanaian. The statement added that government shared the concerns of organized labor that there should be strict adherence to automatic tariff adjustments by the PURC and reiterated its commitment to work with the Commission and other stakeholders to ensure that such an arrangement operated efficiently. But away from the TUC, government's reaction to the TUC's intended actions, a construction worker on Wednesday afternoon lost his life when he was crushed by a collapsing crane he was working on. One other worker who managed to jump off the crane is said to have been sent to hospital with severe injuries. Joy News was there.
It was a gory sight when the team got to the scene. Colleagues of the deceased, whose name was given as David, looked on in shock at the body which had been pulled down from the crane. Eyewitnesses, however, described how the part of his body was left hanging after it had been severed. There was no representative of the company available to comment on the accident, but the crane had been registered in the name of One Antarctica. One of the onlookers, who claimed to be the assembly member, suggested the company did not have a construction permit.
It's a mechanical problem, and I cannot speak for the company. I am the presiding member of the assembly. I was called a few moments ago that there was a problem, and when I got there, it was a disaster.
Well, the local chapter of the Teachers and Educational Workers Union at the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital yesterday locked up the lecture halls of the University of Ghana Medical School. The Tewu chapter is demanding the renegotiation of some allowances and an upward adjustment of their base pay under the single spine salary structure.
Members of Tewu for the past 6 weeks have been on strike, demanding a correction of the disparities and distortions in the grading structure of employees of public universities. Officials, as part of their demands, want a review of Category 2 and 3 of the allowances, as well as an upward adjustment of their market premium and base pay under the single spine salary structure. So for the past 6 weeks, activities and operations in some departments at all public universities have virtually come to a halt. For Tewu workers at the University of Ghana Medical School, they resolved to lock up lecture halls, claiming their 6-week strike action has not yielded any results. Hence the laid-back attitude of government and the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. On Thursday morning, the once busy dental school was left empty as lecturers and students could not access the place to carry out their work. The main entrance to the administration block and other lecture halls of the institution were all under lock and key. Interestingly, management of the school managed to find spare keys to unlock some of the lecture rooms. So by noon, lectures had started, but junior doctors who spoke to Joy News team did indicate that the strike has had a great toll on the academic work.
It has really affected us badly in terms of how we come to class, and sometimes the PA systems are not working. And if you sit at the back, you won't actually hear what the lecturers are saying. Sometimes we go to our practical classes, maybe the doors will be locked. Come to lectures. This morning, for instance, we came and the doors were locked. So we had to have a lecture somewhere else. And for my colleagues who are in second year, coming from Legon campus, they also come on they have been coming on their own for some time until yesterday when the school decided to send a bus to pick them also. And I think it's very bad because if students have paid an amount of transportation and they have to be coming by themselves, it's very, very, very bad. And it's dangerous too.
It makes it seem as if maybe they are less important or something. Yeah. But this is the case, we need them to work because they have to open up the place, set up the projectors for us to have lectures and all that. So
the Tewu chairman of the College of Health Sciences, Korle Bu campus, Suleimana Karim, said the strike would continue unabated until Government and Fair Wages and Salaries Commission hit to their demands.
We will certainly remain resolute on our demands that we equally qualify for this premium, this hospital premium. And so until such a time that they decide to pay this particular premium to all category of staff, we will still be on strike.
Other TEWU members also expressed grave concern at the slow pace at which government was reacting to their concerns.
There are some category of staff, you don't need qualification. You don't need first degree to be a cleaner in the lab. We don't use PhD for lab technicians. So clearly, our value that we add is not necessary to be in a high position, because the messenger cleaner comes to the ward or comes to the lab there to clean. And so when you deny them, it is unacceptable. And so what we are saying is that both governments, the responsible parties, not until they solve this problem, we will not come.
Management of the school were in a crunch meeting when we tried to get a reaction to the action of TEWU workers.
Away from the TEWU strike at Korle Bu Now, an ultramodern €400,000 maternity block constructed for the Sikado Hospital in the Western region is to be pulled down. Authorities of the hospital have refused to accept the structure due to what they call structural defects. Here's a report by our Western regional correspondent, William Benjamin Peters.
The facility was put up with the support of tallow oil to ease congestion at the maternity ward, which records 200 deliveries daily. Work is reported to have started in 2012 after hospital authorities approached tallow oil. A senior health information officer of the hospital, Anthony Gustav Adongo, explained that the approval of the project subsequently saw construction work completed in 2013. Unfortunately, authorities, upon inspecting the facility, realized there were structural defects as a result of poor work done by the consultant and contractor. Hospital authorities fear the defects could result in disaster, and management decided to pull down the entire structure worth €400,000 with the intention of constructing a new facility to meet their expectation.
But unfortunately for us, we saw that the work that was done was poor. So as I speak to you now, they are going to pull down this structure with the intention of building a new structure for us to be used as our maternity block. So it is costing at least €400,000.
According to the senior health information officer, hospital authorities were not allowed to inspect the structure during its construction and attributed the poor work done to that factor. He indicated that the technical details regarding the conduct of the contractor and consultant will be evaluated by authorities. He, however, refused disclosing their identity.
No, it was not. In fact, there wasn't any monitoring and works there. So they left the construction works in the hands of the contractor, and he did whatever he wanted to do. And at the end of the day, we saw that the work done was poor. So we blame the contractor and then the consultant himself, because we were expecting that as work was going on, we should have come to at least inspect.
William Benjamin Peters report from the Western region.
Now let's check out some inflationary figures. Inflation in September rose to 11.9%, the highest in 3 years. The Ghana Statistical Service attributes this to last month's increase in fuel prices. The price of some cereals and other products in the food group was also to blame.
The Consumer Price Index, which measures the change over time in the general prices of goods and services consumed by households, indicated that prices between August and September had declined marginally by negative 0.7%. In spite of this, prices from September last year to the same period this year went up by 0.4 percentage points, pegging inflation rate for the month of September at 11.9% from 11.5% in August. Following recent adjustments in the prices of petroleum products, transport emerged the key driver of the current inflation rate, which recorded a rate of 27.7%, above the non-food group average year-on-year inflation rate of 14.2%.
Miscellaneous goods and services under the non-food group recorded 16.3% inflation, followed by clothing and footwear, which also stood at 15.9%. Food and non-alcoholic beverages group also recorded an average year-on-year inflation rate of 8.9%, with cereals and products recording 12.2% inflation, above the average food inflation. September comes across as a harvest season, but the figures reflect a change, hence the need for policies to target the components of the consumer inflation.
We have time and again disaggregated the components of inflation in Ghana. We've given the weights of the various items or commodity groups that consumers purchase. We know that some are more sensitive to price changes than others. So policies that government will adopt that will impact highly on the groups that have a bigger weight in the basket of goods that consumers consume would automatically affect the inflation.
The Statistical Service is also recommending fiscal discipline due to its implication on inflation.
Yeah, actually, when we spend more, or we put a lot of pressure on the city, and when the city depreciates, it affects imported items. I mean, imported goods become more expensive. And because the basket is not only made up of local items, imported items like rice, like the sugars that we import substantially, if their prices go up and people are also consuming these items, it means that it's going to impact inflation. So a lot will depend on how consumers react to some of these policy changes or adjustments that we are seeing.
The service has meanwhile hinted that it will release unemployment figures for 6 months this year, specifically from March to August, as will be provided by the Ghana Living Standards Survey.
Okay, now President John Dramani Mahama has appointed industrialist and management consultant Michael Ijekumado as chairman of the reconstituted board of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, GIPC. Other members of the GIPC board appointed by the president in consultation with the Council of State are Stephanie Baita, Irene Demanya, Gwenda Sam, Aaron Dixon, Ebenezer Ni Ayi Aite, Aaron Rex Opokwahene, and the acting CEO of the GIPC. Other boards reconstituted by the president are the PS Hitema Shipyard Company and the Intercity STC Coaches Limited boards, chaired by Rear Admiral Mohammed M. Tahiru and Patrick Vanderpoy, respectively. You can find more details for the appointments on myjoyonline.com. But let's do some other stories. Let's check out the headlines again before we go. Beg your pardon. A man was crushed yesterday to death by a crane in a gory accident, highlighting issues of work safety for construction workers. Government has reacted to TUC's saying a technical committee is assessing the likely impact of proposed tariff increases, and consumer price inflation has been pegged at 11.9% for the month of September, the highest in 3 years. That's it for the AM News. We'll be doing the show continues in a bit.
GNPC is totally behind the Black Stars team. We have been behind the Black Stars team because of one thing. The Black Stars unites everybody in Ghana, and it is basically the passion of the nation. And we are fueling the nation thanks to all the discoveries that we've been making, thanks to the Lord. And we will be behind you. Like I said, some of us have already booked our passages to Brazil, and we do hope that this is going to be a massive victory. And like Your Excellency said, we expect nothing short, and you also expect nothing short. We on our part will do everything. I've heard your request, Captain, about the increase in the bonus. We've already done a 50% increase in your bonuses. And you win this one, and we will surprise you beyond your expectations after the
Okay, so that does it for sports. Sadly, for those of you in Kumasi, even though they are training today, you may not be able, if you're also looking forward to seeing Kingston 22 Black Stars, unfortunately, you'll be able to do that today, but maybe sometime later you'll be able to do that. But that's it for sports, but you can't get see of Tigo.